Hello everyone, I'm Xiaogan. Okay, in this lesson, we are mainly going to write our animation notification. This animation notification is mainly used for us to create the bed and our collision box. This animation notification is a bit more complex. Let's take a look at the AnimNotify thing we wrote earlier. It should start with an N, and it should be in this position. We wrote one earlier. Let me close it. And then let's create a few new TXT files here. We'll need to write another one later. So let's just create two groups like this. Let's refresh the project. Okay, let's wait for it to finish refreshing. It's prompting that it's already running. I must have clicked wrong. It should be here. Try again. It should be fine now. Maybe the second person clicked wrong earlier. Okay, let's go in. Then we single it. Find this position. As for the name of this, we'll call it attack. That is, when we perform an attack, we will use this. Duplicate names are not allowed here. So we need to do this. Just set it to CAP like this. Then the same as before. Still need to include the image file. Okay. Then we'll make a forward declaration. Because we need to use the generated control box, similarly, we need to inherit the class. Our notify, the notify class. Then we write the constructor. Then the main methods we override are these two. So now let's implement these functions. Okay. Alright, then in the constructor, let's implement this function first. We'll ignore this one, okay? Then let's assign the attributes first. When assigning attributes, let's go through them one by one. Write down what each attribute means. First of all, because this tag of yours, your headbox has a tag that needs to be passed. If it needs to be passed, so here, this tag needs to be passed to a headbox. So here we have a tag that needs to be passed. Then we specifically generated a combined entity. Because we only defined a class, we definitely need to specify its blueprint class. This part needs to go to blueprint, pick up the resource. So here we need a UCAS type. And similarly, regarding the position of this collision body, we can set its position relative, rotation, etc. And similarly, there is a life cycle here. We can also override the life cycle because some of our cycles are long, some cycles are short, and we bind it to our mesh component. We bind it to the main line. So we have a socket, and this thing can be bound or not bound. If you bind it, it will move with the bones. If you don't bind it, it just lives in that position. It is fixed in that position. So we give a boolean. We say it needs to be bound to this position. And finally, it's the size of this box. Okay, now let's go back to our place here. So we have given so many things when we are in a constructor. We give it some default values. Don't leave it hanging here. Then we just give our steady class. Of course, it's just a default value. As for the default size, let's give it 312. And it's a three-dimensional vector. Three-dimensional. Not three-dimensional, it is three-dimensional. Three-dimensional floating point number. Then set the health value to 4. As for this slot, we don't have a way to make it give an open file. Of course, we can modify it in the instance. After arriving at this place, let's first call the function of the parent class. Yes, the function of the parent class. Then, at this point, we will mainly explain the concept of deferred spawning. This concept of deferred spawning might be quite important. Certainly, some properties must exist only after spawning, but you don't necessarily write them in begin play. Then, I can first let it generate, but not let it directly play. Then before it executes play, we need to give it a confirmation. This is called delayed generation. We usually write this in CI sometimes. This delayed generation is quite important. First, we need to get our character. After we get the character, we first find our socket. This is the position and rotation on our socket component. We'll ignore it. Then we can only generate it on the server. Yes, we only let it generate on the server, so we check here. As long as it is not on the client, we consider it to be on the server side. Okay, you can actually leave this code alone, it's fine. Here, we generate a transform. This transform can include our relative rotation position, as well as the position of our component. Then, here, we delay. We delay it spawning, and you will notice that the function we call here is no longer spawn. Instead, spawn is the default. We can click into it to take a look. This function means spawns the given class, returns the pointer within the child. Then, this thing, it will not run the blueprint constructor. That is, before it is actually spawned. Because it will give you a chance for you to, that is, give you a prior opportunity for you to modify some things and then continue to execute. Then after you finish this spawn, you must call Felice spawn enter. Only then will it actually spawn and then proceed to this constructor. That should be what it means. So this part, this writing style is quite special. Okay, so the parameters here, there's probably nothing much to say. Just this part, if we delay the generation first, after the generation is complete, but we are doing delayed generation, but it hasn't actually been generated yet. We just have this, an object like this. Then we pass in the tag we want to use into it, and then set its size and model. After the setup is complete, then we set its relative position. Set its relative position. Then we apply its relative rotation. Add the relative position into it. Add the relative position into it. Then we leave the rotation here as is. Then we set a lifetime for it like this. After setting it, after these settings are complete, then we consider that it has already been spawned with a delay. That is, at this point, it will only then follow the normal spawning process. After OK. After this, now we need to bind it. That is, bind this collision box to our mesh component. So just pass these parameters here. Nothing much to say. Note that this binding must be attached after the object is spawned, because it might fail to attach. So attach it after the object is spawned. Okay. Now let's compile it and see if there are any issues. We see some red errors here. It might be because I haven't refreshed the project. It compiles without errors now. This proves that our part is written correctly and there are no issues. Okay, next we will go to our blueprint book to configure these things. Then let's check the effect. Actually, we haven't finished writing yet. Actually, it's not finished yet. We still have a very important class that hasn't been written yet. We'll come back and write it later. Let's stop here for now. Thank you, everyone.